Today, we're diving into this invisible force that quietly steers almost every single decision you make. We're talking about how you negotiate your salary, what you're willing to pay for a new phone, pretty much everything. And it all boils down to one question.
Seriously, think about it. You're trying to buy a house or maybe just a used car. The seller throws out a number first. And even if that number is kind of crazy, it just hangs in the air, right? Suddenly, every other number is being compared back to that one starting point. But why? What's going on in our heads?
Well, psychologists have a name for it. It's called a mental anchor. Once that first piece of information is dropped, it's like it sets the rules for the whole debate happening inside your mind. Every thought you have after that doesn't start from a blank slate. Nope, it starts from that anchor, and you have to consciously fight to pull away from it.
So let's put a formal name to this thing. We're going to really get into the weeds on the antagonist of our story today, anchoring bias.
Okay, so here's the official breakdown. Anchoring bias is just our brain's tendency to latch onto that first piece of info. We get stuck on it. And once that anchor is set, we adjust our thinking from there. But here's the kicker, the part that gets us into trouble. We almost never adjust far enough away. That anchor's gravitational pull is just way too strong.
So, why on earth do our brains do this? Well, there are three main reasons. First, you've got the priming effect. That anchor basically puts a spotlight on a specific number, making it the star of the show in your mind. Second, honestly, it's just easier. Our brains are kind of lazy. They want to save energy. Adjusting from a starting point takes way less work than trying to figure out a value from scratch. And finally, and this is the big one, uncertainty. We are at our most vulnerable when we just don't know what something is really worth. That first number becomes a lifeline in the sea of doubt.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. The absolute legends of psychology, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, they designed this brilliant experiment to prove just how powerful and, frankly, how irrational this bias truly is.
And this is where it gets really wild. They had people spin a wheel of fortune, but it was rigged to only land on two numbers, 10 or 65. Then they asked everyone a completely unrelated question. What percentage of African nations are members of the UN? Now, logically, the number on the wheel should have zero effect on the answer, but it did. The group that got the low number, 10, their average guess was around 25%, and the group that got the high anchor, 65, their average guess shot all the way up to 45%. Let that sink in. A totally random, meaningless number dramatically changed how people perceived reality.
So, okay, this is clearly not just some weird thing that happens in a lab. Anchors are lurking everywhere, and they're influencing your decisions every single day. Let's take a look at where you can spot them out in the wild.
You've seen this a million times. You walk into a store and you see a jacket with a tag that says original price $500. That's the anchor. Then right next to it, sale price $250. And your brain goes, wow, 50% off. What a deal. That massive $500 anchor makes $250 feel like an absolute steal, even if the jacket was only ever worth $100 to begin with. It's a classic trick to make you feel like you won.
And it goes so much deeper than that. In a salary negotiation, whoever says a number first sets the financial anchor for the entire rest of the conversation. In medicine, a doctor's initial hunch about a diagnosis can actually anchor their thinking, making them less likely to consider other possibilities. And in B2B sales, you'll see these crazy expensive enterprise packages that almost no one buys. They exist to make the standard package look like a perfectly reasonable, affordable choice by comparison.
Falling for these anchors has real-world consequences. We're talking about paying way too much for a car, a house, a service. In the business world, it could mean you get stuck on an old strategy and completely miss out on a profitable new market. And in any kind of negotiation, if you set an anchor that's just too extreme, you might just tick off the other person and make the whole deal fall apart.
Okay, so this bias is powerful, it's sneaky, and it is everywhere. But the good news is you can fight back. You can learn to spot it. So here's a plan to help you weigh that anchor and take back control of your decision.
All right, here we go, your 4-step plan. Step 1, just acknowledge that the anchor exists. The second a number is mentioned, ask yourself, wait a minute, how is that first number influencing me right now? Just by doing that, you make the invisible visible and you start to break its power. Step 2, you have to do your homework. Fight that uncertainty with facts. Look up competitor prices, salary data, market research. Every new data point you find acts like a counter anchor,
giving your mind other places to land instead of just being stuck on that first one. Step 3, if you can, start any negotiation with a totally open mind. Focus on the value, on what each side needs before any numbers even hit the table. This builds a foundation based on reality, not some random starting point. And finally, step 4, this one is my personal favorite. Actively consider the opposite. If someone gives you a high number, force yourself to make the mental argument for why it should be incredibly low. This little mental exercise stretches your thinking and can literally shatter the anchor's hold on you.
So here's the thing. Once you learn to spot these anchors, you can't unsee them. It's like you've suddenly been given a new pair of glasses to see the world of information and influence around you.
From now on, when you hear that first number, I want you to see it for what it truly is. It is not the truth, it's not the destination, it is just a starting point. And your power comes from recognizing its pull and then making a conscious choice to look beyond it to find out what something is actually worth.
So let me just leave you with this final thought. Be a critical thinker, not a captive of the first impression. Don't let your judgment be held hostage by the first number someone throws at you. When you challenge that initial information, you empower yourself to make smarter, better choices in every part of your life. Thanks for tuning into The Explainer.